All right. Well, I'm back. The other stream had to wrap it out because technical issues. Not impressed. Not impressed at all. I'm sure you're not impressed either, especially if you were in the last stream and had to go and find this one, which I'm seeing nobody's showing up. Let's see what happens. Let's go back here, go back there. And should be live. All right. Why are we not live? Oh, good. We're live. Okay. Profuse apologies to anybody had to come back and find this. It's the worst thing that can happen in the middle of a stream is that you lose all your streaming that's happening. CPU's been spiking quite a bit for no bloody reason whatsoever. Let's get rid of that studio mode, see if that helps. All right. Let's keep an eye on the issues. So we were talking about Bill S209, which is replacing Bill S10. And we covered this a bit on our second breakfast show this morning that had none of these technical issues. Well, it's like, hey, if the show was running fine this morning, why would it run fine this afternoon? But apparently, the internet gods are not with me. So here we are. So as a direct result of this, we were talking about this. First and second reading has already been done. It has to be finished off in committee, but there's no pushback in committee whatsoever, except for one member. Everybody's just going along with this because most of them don't have a schmick, don't have a clue, and they have no idea what's happening in society. Our biggest problem is that kids are being brainwashed in school, being taught political agendas, cultural Marxism. We never used it. We only used to teach the 3 R's, right? Now they're teaching a fourth R, radicalism. And it shouldn't be in there. Now, of course, these kids are being indoctrinated with trans ideology, LGBTQ stuff, climate change, diversity, equity, inclusion, which is, the Hegelian deconstructionism through Marxism. And they're coming out of school with all this weird ideology, getting ready to always find an oppressor and a victim. And now they want to ensure that the only things that these kids can consume is state-run propaganda. Never being able out there to get a different view on other things because they want to remove their access to the internet. But it's far more insidious than that. In order to bring these measures in, for your safety, of course, that means that everyone will have to participate, which means everyone will need some form of digital ID in order to get onto the internet. It's just constant chaos from every side in order to introduce these authoritarian, totalitarian bills. Now, speaking of Aurelian, here's Andrew Lawton saying this is precisely why we cannot trust Bill C9, which creates a new definition of hate, will not be used to silence debate. Now, they've been talking about Bill C9. It was actually in committee this morning. So we'll see what comes of that. Governments and kangaroo courts now chill freedom of expression instead of fighting crime, censoring people who dare to speak their minds. Just asked a BC school board trustee who got slapped with a $750,000 fine for saying there are only two sexes. So, as a follow-up to this, of course, I think the best person to be talking about that would be the rebel commander himself, Ezra Levant, who had his own dealings with the human rights tribunals. I was trying to find that book. I went downstairs in my library. It's obviously somewhere else, probably packed in another box. I had a copy of the first book that Ezra put out in his fight against the tribunal, and also including a bunch of other bananas human rights tribunal trials that went on, such as you know, people going to human rights for being forced to wash their hands to work inside food industry, like crazy stuff like this, right? So it's no surprise that this weird decision came out. So Rebel News here states human rights lawyer says Neufeld decision signals troubling expansion of hate speech standards. Human rights lawyer Hatim Kier argues the BC Tribunal's finding that distinguishing biological sex from gender identity constitutes hate speech reflects a broader shift in how human rights law defines, harms, and limits debate. Constitutional human rights lawyer Hatim Kier says the recent ruling against former Chilliwack school trustee Barry Neufeld highlights the expansive powers of human rights tribunals. Human rights commissions are like quasi-judicial bodies that do not operate under the same procedural safeguards as traditional courts. The BC Human Rights Tribunal ordered Neufeld to pay $750,000 after concluding that his public comments distinguished biological sex from gender identity amounted to hate speech and created a poisoned environment. So somebody else created this situation, right? Because it wasn't hate speech before, but now all of a sudden, reality is hate speech. Here, acknowledge that the tribunal cited Supreme Court of Canada jurisprudence establishing a high threshold for hatred, requiring extreme detestation or vilification. However, he said the tribunal's application of that standard represents a notable development in what qualifies as hate speech. According to the ruling, separating gender identity from biological sex constitutes an existential denial of transgender people. Yeah, what happens in their mind now supersedes the scientific fact of the XY chromosomes. The tribunal found that asserting the two are not equivalent effectively erases transgender individuals and contributes to the promotion of hatred, rendering Neufeld's remarks discriminatory under human rights law. So they are conflating people stating facts with hatred. Right? If people don't like your facts, that's now hatred. The reasoning narrows the space for public debate on gender identity policy and signals a broader interpretation of hate speech within human rights proceedings with potential implications for freedom of expression in Canada. Now, this is a good little video. We have enough time to watch that, so let's watch that.
Commissions are like baby courts or quasi-judicial tribunals. They're not actually run by judges. They don't have the same rigorous civil procedure. For example, hearsay is allowed. There's all sorts of lower standards for evidence, and as you can see, the rulings are quite wacky sometimes. This isn't a joke, though. A $750,000 penalty, a kind of class action lawsuit. Again, without the checks and balances of a real class action lawsuit. It's an out of control legal creation. Take it from me. I went through the whole thing about 15 years ago, 20 years ago now in Alberta. Joining us now to talk about this latest case of censorship through a so-called Human Rights Commission is a lawyer for charter advocates working with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. His name is Hatim Kier. Hatim, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
I'm shocked by this case. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Let's just confirm the basic facts. What you have here is a former school trustee who was elected to debate these matters and oversee these matters. He obviously was a strong critic of sexual education in the progressive style that is the norm in British Columbia. He apparently used language that was a little bit, I don't know, spicy, as considered by some. And instead of just satisfying themselves with debating him or beating him in an election, they took him before the Human Rights Tribunal, and they got a $750,000 payday. Whether or not they can collect, I don't know. Did I more or less get the facts straight there?
Yeah, you got the main facts that happened. And what's particularly interesting about this case is how the Human Rights Tribunal arrived at its decision. And I think it lends to that point you were raising earlier about the lower standards that our people potentially face when they're before these tribunals.
Well, I mean, they convicted this guy of hate speech. Hate speech and hate crimes are in our criminal code. There's all sorts of checks and balances. One of them, there's various defenses. For example, honest belief, religious belief. You have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. These are some of the natural checks and balances when you go to a real grown-up court. But this is a baby court, and they didn't have those same standards, did they? So they just convicted this guy of a hate crime.
Well, even in the context of human rights cases, the Supreme Court has actually been pretty clear about setting a high standard for what hatred means. There's a pretty high-profile case a few years ago with a comedian. There's the Ward case where, again, the Supreme Court reiterated, it's not enough that someone says something offensive. Hatred is a very high bar. It refers to an exceptional kind of speech that caused detestation and vilification of a group of people. And in this case, the British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal did reference that decision and that case law. However, the end result was that the tribunal found that separating the concept of gender identity and biological sex is almost mandatory. So insisting that gender identity is no different from biological sex erases the category of trans people, so says the British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal, and that erasure contributes to the promotion of hatred and what makes Mr. Neufeld's speech hate speech.
So I would put it to you. I mean, listen, we don't know everyone's mind, but you travel in different circles, and people talk about this perhaps in hushed tones a little bit, because were they to stand up in a town hall and announce their views on transgenderism, they might get in some sort of trouble. But I put it to you that most Canadians are challenged by the idea of transgenderism. I think they put up with it if it's a private matter. They say, okay, nobody's business but theirs. But then when it comes into the public square, girls' sports, girls' bathrooms, girls' change room, women's prisons, then all of a sudden, what you just talked about, is there a distinction between a biological sex and a gender identity or gender expression? That's not just a debating point anymore. It's not just an interesting thought experiment. On that question turns whether or not a man can go into a change room with women. And I put it to you that most Canadians, that's my hunch, but I think polls would support it, most Canadians would find that troubling. Are you saying to me that by this Human Rights Tribunal, they're guilty of hate?
Potentially. Obviously,
It's a bizarro world we've moved into. It's what we've been trying to warn for the last 20 years. Those of us that blogged for freedom of choice, freedom of expression, this is what we call the tyranny of the minority. And it's only made true, of course, because the far left have been running the show in Canada for coming up on 11 years. And the further they are, the more bananas things are going to get in Canada. In fact, not only the more bananas, the more corrupt it will be. Now, at the beginning of the show, or was that the other stream? Who knows now, with all the technical issues. We were talking about, where is it? Yes. Talking about this, why this was canceled. Standing Committee on Public Accounts. Well, I'm wondering if it was because of this. Federal IT department has awarded millions in rolling sole source contracts to the same suppliers over 90-day periods. Now, we used to do the same in the military all the time for standing orders or standing offers on pens, papers, staples, that kind of thing, right? The stuff that we would need all the time. Cleaning supplies, I suppose, stuff that you use and consume all the time. It would always make more sense to get these standard contracts. That's fine. But they were also under a certain amount of money. And you could always find out who authorized it, because it all had to be authorized through SAP, which was controlling the All Singing and All Dancing program. Now, apparently Cabinet in 2018 granted federal managers new powers to award contracts without competitive bidding. Now, That may be so in those ministries, but that never changed in the military right up until I left. As far as I knew, anything that we needed to do, we still needed separate contracts for everything, unless, of course, it was for one of those standing offer things. Maybe that's why that public accounts meeting was canceled. Scrambling, thinking that, oh my goodness, we are just going to get ravaged here. So perhaps the committee chair. Actually, I'd have to go in and find out who the committee chair is. Bet you any dollars to donuts that the committee chair is Liberal. Now, as a reminder, I think it's worth reminding everyone that Evan Solomon was doing shady art deals with Mark Carney and got fired from the CBC for it. Yes, let's remind everyone on that.
Politics and the House was taken off the air Monday after CBC managers became aware of information in this Toronto Star report. It alleges Solomon partnered with art collector Bruce Bailey and used his journalistic contacts to broker art deals with prominent people like former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, who appeared on his show, and former BlackBerry co-CEO Jim Balsillie, with whom he interacted as a journalist. The report claims Solomon collected a 10% commission on sales he helped arrange and was paid hundreds of thousands of dollars over 2 years. The host of Power and Politics and the House was taken.
It's always a good thing to remind people of history. Now, there was a reason why he posted this. Maybe it's because of the recent news that BlackBerry is back in the news again. Now, Carney and the Liberals say this is about extortion, which goes back to all their control measures like Bill S-209. Now they want to expand FINTRAC powers, lawful access expansion, stronger AML enforcement, all for your safety. Governments don't build financial surveillance infrastructure in one move. They build it in stages. So they're going to say that what they're doing here is because they have to deal with extortion. The real situation is that they created the extortion problem so that they could bring in legislation that they don't need, like this.
A series of new measures. That's why today I am announcing a series of new measures to strengthen Canada's response to extortion and better protect Canadians, starting with stronger collaboration with our financial sector and an expanded role for FINTRAC, Canada's Financial Intelligence Unit. The Minister of Finance has now directed FINTRAC to take immediate action to prioritize and mobilize resources to support law enforcement in detecting and disrupting extortion. This includes producing and sharing actionable financial intelligence that helps investigators identify patterns, trace illicit funds.
Blah, 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 blah. You people haven't even set up a foreign registry yet. Foreign agent registry. You haven't even done that yet. So coming up on 2 years. You haven't even done that. But, oh, you're so kicked to be doing this, right? And the first people you'll be enforcing it on are regular Canadians because you've done nothing about the banks, right? We've had banks involved in and found guilty of money laundering in the States. Billions of dollars in fines. But have you done anything to go after them? Oh, no. No, let's bring in legislation to go after the little guy. Exactly what you're doing. Now, Mark Carney just lied to Canadians, claiming that he would still need a warrant under Bill C-2 to track your phone. Well, no, that's a bloody lie. We did videos on this months ago. Here's an actual text of the bill, section 487.11. A peace officer or public officer may, in the course of their duties, exercise any of the powers described in section 487, 492.1, and 492.2 without warrant. If the conditions for obtaining a warrant exist, but by reason of exigent circumstances, it would be impractical to obtain a warrant. Warrantless arrest. This is yet another example of Mark Carney telling an easily verifiable lie in an attempt to amass power in his own hands. And if you want a really good list of all his lies, go to the Moose chart. Moose on the Loose. Go watch any of his videos. He's got a link in the description to his Moose chart, and he tracks everything. He's been slowly building this massive database on all the fuckery, all the connections of Carney and his friends. So let's just listen to this little video here.
To move. I want to highlight a very important bill that needs to move, which is Bill C2, which is another series of border measures. But one of the core things that it includes is something called lawful access. Now, lawful access is through the courts, getting a warrant, but being able to access messaging between suspected criminals. I want to highlight a very important bill that needs to move.
There you go. From the horse's mouth. All right. So, shouldn't the amount of people needing benefits to buy groceries go down instead of up in a thriving economy 3 years on? What does this liberal call elbows up winning, and then they all clap like seals? Indeed, people have mentioned this over and over again, and it's not over. This was brought in a couple of weeks ago, right? They borrowed money to buy food stamps while sending billions of dollars overseas to help other people, but not Canadians, because it's helping themselves. How does all that money leave the country without people ever being accountable? Well, it's because they purchased the media, and they completely control the media, so they control people's minds, just like they have since the COVIDity stupidity. Dear CPC HQ, so if you don't know, this is the actual X address or post link or account for the Conservative Party in Canada. Please don't continue with this bullshit and make me politically homeless, because I'm already this freaking close. Many of us are, really, in the way that it seems Conservatives just don't seem to have any freaking balls these days. Very nutless in a lot of what they're doing and not doing, especially in what they're not doing and not saying. Right? It's like they're starting to act like a bunch of red Tories. It's not very nice. Now, when it was his chance to speak, some MPs, between 6 or 8 of them, started to heckle him, and he abruptly left the meeting, sources said. Now, if you're not aware of this, Conservative MP refused his pay bump, and he was heckled and admonished by his colleagues. You know what? This would have been such an easy win for the Conservatives. All of them, just to get on board with the example that he did, to show some solidarity with all the Canadians who were living through this economic stupidity that the Liberals have brought upon us. And we could have stood with Canadians with this by saying, look at us. But no. And in fact, some Conservative MPs got mad with him. They got mad at him. Now, if you're not aware, MPs get an automatic raise every April 1st. April Fools. It's also the anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Yeah, they picked the winter day as well, didn't they? But yeah, and he recognizes it. In these times, why are we taking a pay raise? So the other MPs, Conservative ones, who started bitching him out, now of course, now he's going to be on the outs. Right? So it's time to start sending him some emails saying, hey, good idea. I see of us there. Why is my CPU breaking? Hello? Test. It's right. This is getting ridiculous. Really don't want to have to buy Streamlabs. I don't know what to say. I've done everything I can with the equipment that I have, and for some reason the CPU keeps spiking like that and causing issues. Now, like I said, this was not a problem during the stream this morning, so I have no idea why it's happening now. And the stream this morning was 35 minutes with no issues, and we're just barely 24 minutes into this and already having some CPU issues. It's just not happy. All right. So in Washington, groundbreaking study has mapped 2,294 organizations with proven links to Chinese Communist Party's United Front influence apparatus across the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom and Germany, and with Canada exhibiting nearly 5 times the per capita penetration rate of the US. 5 times. The highest density of CCP-linked organizations among all 4 democracies. So Canada has been inundated with communists. Nope, no surprise, because they're being run by bloody communists. So, of course, Sam Cooper here has his article on the Bureau. Exclusive floor crossing MP Michael Ma was director of group explicitly named as United Front organization in landmark Jamestown Foundation study. Oh, well, I guess it's a good thing he did cross the floor over to join the communists, seeing that he's obviously a communist. If he was the director of a group for the United Front organization. And did we just go a little choppy there again? Yeah, we sure did. All right. Now, Canada has now endured a decade of virtual stagnation in real per capita incomes, productivity, and growth in the private sector, capital stock, as well as unprecedented net direct investment outflows. Productivity in Canada is in a secular decline. That is not on Trump. Productivity growth is basically flat over the past year, and that compares to 2% in the US and, get this, almost 10% in Ireland. Oh. The Canadian government has built up such a machinery that it depends 26% that it represents 26% of the GDP. I mention this often, try to warn people for the past year. When the government starts making up that much of your economy is toast, because you cannot feed yourself. It's like a snake eating its tail. The business sector now commands around a 10% share, which is about 3/4 of what it is in the US. We've chased all the business, and that share is only going to get smaller. There are more Canadians who are invested in and own businesses in the United States than in Canada because of all the capital flight that's the Liberals are creating, and they've done this on purpose. You can't get complete authoritarian, totalitarian control if people are happy and rich in your nation, right? Because we're able to fund opposition. But if you've chased everyone out, and you've made everyone poor, and you're the last man standing, recycling the same printed money over and over again, then I guess you've just won yourself a communist nation. I wonder if most Canadians know or even care that business taxation in this country amounts to nearly 5% of GDP. It is barely more than 2% in the US, less than 3% for many countries in Europe, and we have the dubious honor of being the highest in that respect for all G10 countries. Mark Carney talks about initiatives to drive internal demand dynamics, but this is really all just a case of nibbling around the edges and smoke and mirrors. 1 year, it's a temporary GST holiday, and now it's tax breaks on electric vehicles. Talk about bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. What is wrong with Canadians that we continuously refuse to vote in like-minded governments aimed at promoting economic success? True mystery. Not a mystery at all. It's happening because people's minds are broken and they're being continually reprogrammed by QCJO media. Let's stop diverting attention away from the real problem, and let's stop nibbling around the edges with debates and sector-specific tax incentives. It's high time to think big. The only big thing that could happen is getting rid of half the government that's there. Social services, they got to go, can't afford them, right? And then cut back all the taxes, all the legislation, all the stupid rules and laws, bring back some common sense, get rid of all these negative factors, and you might be able to attract some people back. But right now, Canadians who fled in Canada are not coming back. They don't want to come back, especially there's nothing attractive. And Canadians that are living here, something that I covered last week during the second breakfast several times, is that parents are now actively getting their children ready to leave the country because they know there's nothing here for them anymore. They know that their children can't afford to buy a house. They know their children will never have a good job here. So the best thing they can do is get them ready to leave the country as fast and as quick as you can, because that is what the Liberals have created for the majority of Canadians who've seen the middle class environment completely vanish and be destroyed by the Liberals. And how and why are they kept in power? Well, that's because of all the elbows up crowd. Now, all those seniors that keep voting these Liberals in, like the seniors in my life, you have to do something, right? You have to tell them, stop abusing me. Every time you go to the polling booth and you bring these buggers back in, you are abusing me. And I'm tired of being abused for the past 10 years. So until you stop abusing me, you can just go on about your life without me. And once you come to your senses, then maybe we can have a conversation. Because you know what? If you try to have a conversation with these elbows up bozos, they don't want to talk to you. They will just call you a maggot. They will call you a Trumper. They'll call you a bunch of names. They will never do anything. They'll do everything except actually discuss the issues that you want to talk to them about. And make sure we're still on. Good. Still no. CPU seems to be acting normal at the moment. Now we're getting, oh, look, it's the House might actually be sitting now. So let's bring up our, no, we don't have it. Now, it's usually statements by members for a good portion of the time, which is why I usually have this sitting off to the side. But lost that when I had to do the restart with all the technical issues on our stream. So while they're continuing on with their statements by members, we can carry on with our little stories. Right, so our parliamentary budget officer, if you remember this from a couple of weeks ago, confirmed that the federal health care program used by rejected and failed asylum claimants is projected to cost over $1.5 billion per year. Free eye care, free dental care, free physio, free this, free that, free medical, free medicine, free, all paid for by the taxpayer. The same taxpayers that don't get that stuff free. And this is being offered to people that aren't supposed to be here. Now, as a reminder, look at this. This guy right here. Yeah, he's my MP here in Quinte West. We had a Conservative MP, and then last election, I guess, I don't know why, enough people here lost their bloody minds and elected this guy to represent us. So other than doing statements by members or a backbencher statement question to another Liberal during question period, he's still pretty well out of the picture. And yeah, he's a bit of a condescending. See you next Tuesday too, when he is talking in the House. Something he's learned from his Liberal compatriots, I suppose. So $1.5 billion per year being provided for free health care for the people who don't belong here. And there are 1 million work visas that have already expired as of the end of 2025. And the Liberal government's been asked over and over again, what's your plan to remove them from the country? And they don't have a plan. And even before that, there were 32,000 of these illegals in the country that needed to leave because, well, they were known criminals. And they had no plan to remove them either. So apparently, Gun Grab Gary said that, I think they might be starting. Yeah, that's the start of the House. So let's get into that.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Liberals have enabled hundreds of thousands of bogus refugee claims. Liberals' failures on immigration like this one means billions of tax dollars have been spent on hotels and social welfare for false refugee claimants, all while Canadians struggle to access health care and while legitimate refugees languish. This has to stop. Will the Liberals support our constructive motion to restore fairness and prioritize Canadians who pay for the healthcare system over fake refugees?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome the member to this important discussion. We have already introduced and made changes to the interim federal health program that will considerably reduce the costs. We are also making significant changes and have introduced C-12, which will curb the misuse of asylum. We will control costs, and we will truly protect those that are vulnerable in line with our international and humanitarian obligations.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, the Liberals haven't been able to get hundreds of millions of dollars worth of pandemic scam fraud returned to them, so I highly doubt they'll be able to get fake refugees on deportation orders to pay back their health care. Mr. Speaker, this is something that needs to end. I will ask the minister again. This is a common sense motion. Literally everybody agrees with it. Will the minister support our constructive motion to ensure that Canadians who pay for our health system are given better access than fake refugees?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, to keep our program sustainable, we have and are making measured changes to the health coverage. We've already introduced copay to the system. We are already curbing the misuse. We've introduced a lot of integrity measures. We have C-12 that is currently in front of us, and thank you for the Conservatives for supporting that. That will reduce also misuse of the system. We also have international and obligations that Canada will continue to honor, particularly for those that are in need, and most of them are children.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed the interim federal health program will cost taxpayers over $1.5 billion a year. The Liberals expanded this program to provide a deluxe health benefits like physiotherapy and home care to bogus asylum claimants whose phony claims have been rejected. Canadians are not entitled to them, but rejected asylum claimants are. Why are the Liberals giving bogus asylum seekers better health care than Canadians who fund the system?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really appreciate that question. To speak to the PBA report, those are projections in that report. They do not take into account the changes that are coming in Bill C-12. Neither do they take into account the interim health measures that we've introduced, including copay and other provisions. So I look forward to that.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, while the Liberals defend deluxe health benefits for bogus asylum claimants, millions of Canadians are waiting in line for care. There are Canadians in this country who can't get health care they need because the wait list is too long. Ahead of them on that wait list are people who filed fake refugee claims and were rejected by the government's own refugee board. Will the minister explain to Canadians why bogus asylum seekers are ahead of them in line?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to point to that member who I respect quite a bit. Last session we were on the same committee. In 2014, it was this Conservative government that the Supreme Court ruled that they made that their changes were unconstitutional, and they took away health care coverage for the most vulnerable, including children. This is not something we will do on this side of the House. Again, we are curbing misuse. We've introduced changes by introducing copay. Asylum claims are down by a third under this government.
That's how it's done. On va donner l'occasion aux gens de se faire entendre. L'honorable.
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of this Liberal government, our once exemplary immigration system is now in a shambles. We have discovered at the Committee of Health that health providers are causing taxpayers to pay up to 5-time provincial levels for illegal asylum seekers. And meanwhile, 6 million Canadians do not have a family doctor. That's an insult for those who have been paying taxes all their lives. Will the government support us in re-establishing fairness in health for Canadians first? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. On this side of the House, we are working very hard to ensure that our asylum system is strong. We have reduced asylum claims by a third. We also introduced C-12, and I'd like to thank our colleagues who have assisted us in passing that legislation. Thus, asylum claims, as I said, have gone down by a third. And we are strengthening our programs. We are continuing to carry out our work on this topic. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report is very clear. The sharp increase in costs from the interim federal health program proves that the system is broken. We need to get rid of federal benefits for non-eligible asylum seekers, except in case of emergency, and we need to ensure that Canada has the housing and healthcare capacity before welcoming new arrivals. Will the government finally guarantee that non-residents will receive healthcare that is superior to the healthcare received by our own citizens? The Honourable Minister, the numbers my colleague quoted are merely projections. They are not real numbers. And given the changes that have been made to the program, those numbers are no longer accurate. We have made significant improvements to the asylum system, including in Bill C-12. The work is going well. We are reducing costs, and we are protecting vulnerable individuals. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Curem fiasco is costing a lot of money. We were wondering where Quebecers' money was going. The cost of this software went from $1.75 to $6.6 billion, which is almost $5 billion more. And all that money seems to be going into the pockets of private business. Well, actually, $3.4 billion, more than half, has been sent to the private sector. And we don't even know what that money is being used for, because the government is refusing to unveil its contracts to media or to MPs. When will there be a public and independent inquiry? The Honourable Secretary of State, Seniors.
They don't know what the money is being used for, but they were on the committees that approved the spending. They know that this money has been used to complete the transformation of a 60-year-old system. If we had let that system stand, people would not be getting their benefits. Mr. Speaker, this program is not costed in a cost overrun situation, as they would assert. This has cost just over $1.4 billion, and the OAS conversion is now complete. The amounts that they're talking about is a theoretical approval for a possible four-system transformation. This OAS system is now complete, people are being transitioned, and there's no cost overruns.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Well, apparently, the cost overruns are so unimportant that the government says that they're common practice. Well, that's exactly the problem. That's what happened with ArriveCAN and with Phoenix. It is common practice. And in 2023, the Auditor General stated that there were risks. It warned the government. It said there were risks to taking shortcuts, like what happened with Phoenix, but clearly no one listened, because now, once again, there's a $5 billion cost overrun. And this software is causing problems for 85,000 retirees. When will there be an arm's length inquiry? The Honourable Minister. With a project of this scale, the money is dispersed in sections. There was a disbursement of $1.7 billion for the first phase of the project. And did not include the full benefits in certain cases, so there will be gains in reliability and effectiveness for seniors in future. The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, 85,000 retirees are experiencing problems with their OAS because of this software, which has now hit $5 billion in cost overruns. And yet those responsible for this problem are giving themselves bonuses. In 2024-25, higher-ups at Employment and Social Development received bonuses worth more than $15 million at a time when retirees are suffering and when taxpayers are paying for this. How can it be that those responsible for this are being paid for their so-called good work. The Honorable Secretary of State Seniors.
Speaker, my friends across the aisle know there are no cost overruns. This was a planned, phased project, and just over $1.4 billion has been spent, and the OAS project is completed. If there are individuals who are having problems with getting payments on time, we invite them to contact us, and we would like them to do so. Those numbers will go down as Canadians transition to an online system, and we would really like them to transition to the online system, and this will speed things up, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, 6 million Canadians don't have access to a family doctor, and it takes 30 weeks for the average Canadian to see a specialist. But the Liberals use a Canadian taxpayer dollars to fund a Cadillac healthcare system for asylum claimants, including free access to glasses and contact lenses, physiotherapy, nursing homes, and hearing aids. These are free benefits that regular citizens don't get, and this doesn't come cheap. It costs nearly $1 billion this year. Will the Liberals support our motion and ensure that asylum claimants don't get better health care than regular Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the first thing I would say is they call them bogus asylum claimants. There are actually a great number, in fact, millions of legitimate asylum claimants all over the world. Our country has distinguished itself over its history as being a welcoming place for legitimate asylum claimants. We will always be a welcoming place. And when people arrive here from war-torn areas or children are in need of health services, every single Canadian I know, Mr. Speaker, would insist that we provide those health services to that person. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And enough of
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, it doesn't change the fact that they have created a two-tier healthcare system that disadvantages ordinary Canadians. The Liberals continue to betray Canadians, putting bogus asylum claimants first by giving them access to health care benefits that regular citizens don't get. And we just learned that the government automatically gives residency to refugees from North Korea, Afghanistan, and Yemen without even talking to them. Instead of an in-person interview, these Liberals are blindly granting residency, all while giving generous health care benefits. So I ask again, will the Liberals support our motion and ensure that asylum claimants don't get better health care than regular Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in addition to our humanitarian obligations, in many cases treaty obligations, as Mr. Harper found out when the Supreme Court ordered him to restore health benefits to asylum claimants for their well-being, Mr. Speaker, in our case, we have managed this number of asylum claimants down. We have passed a law in this House to move that number down. We have passed, or are about to pass, a law to take benefits down for this category of person. We will continue to manage this carefully, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Thousands of people in BC can't see a family doctor. Yet the Liberals now provide deluxe health care benefits to rejected asylum claimants at taxpayers' expense. The PBO has shown that the interim federal health program has skyrocketed in costs to almost $1 billion. Will the Liberals support our motion and ensure that rejected asylum claimants do not get better health care than Canadians?
The Honourable Government House
Leader. Mr. Speaker, asylum seekers who come to this country are the legitimate ones, those who are found to be.
I mean, there's a certain ambient noise in question period, which is totally acceptable in the atmosphere of debate. But when it gets a little past a certain threshold, I have to ask the respondent to start again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And look, I want to assure all Canadians that asylum seekers who come to this country are judged for their legitimacy. If they are found to be legitimate refugees and asylum seekers, like all compassionate countries, like all signatories to international agreements, they are permitted to stay. Those who are not found to have respected those criteria are asked to leave. This government has made very, very tough measures in this Bill C-12, currently before the Senate, to make sure that we can continue to get that number down.
The honourable member for
That explains it right there. They're asked to leave. We're not actually kicking them out. We're just going to ask them to leave. Liberals.
What the member did not mention is that Liberals at the Health Committee are currently filibustering any attempt to even study this program. That doesn't sound like they're trying to fix anything. They want a cover-up. Conservatives are clear on the solution. No more physio or vision care for rejected asylum claimants. Will the Liberals support our motion and ensure that rejected asylum claimants do not get superior health care benefits to Canadians?
L'honorable ministre de la Santé.
Mr. Speaker, it's really unfortunate that we have this kind of conversation where we are talking of the health of Canadians and asylum seekers. The reality is those people are in the country and we have agreement. And our system, the health system is a compassionate system. So what we are saying is those people, they need to have access to health. And we are working closely with provinces and territories also to get more access to Canadian people. Thank you.
The honourable member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Budget Officer reports the interim federal health program will cost nearly $1.5 billion a year to cover health care for fraudulent asylum claimants. This program gives anyone claiming asylum better health care than Canadians who pay for it. Even if these claims are denied, as wait times grow and health care access shrinks for citizens, the Liberals prioritize a growing list of bogus refugees over Canadians. Will the government support our Conservative motion to stop criminal claimants from receiving superior health benefits at Canadian taxpayers' expense?
Well said. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I would put more credence in my honourable colleague's argument if he or his party actually had a record of defending better health care for Canadians. Think about the record that they have demonstrated over the time I've been a member of Parliament. They have opposed the largest transfer to provincial health care systems. Wow. They have opposed dental coverage for Canadians. They have opposed birth care and other essential medicines that Canadians need. This isn't about the quality of health care that Canadians need. The only solution that they're putting forward is to deny the children of refugees dental care. Frankly, Mr. Speaker, this is disgusting, un-Canadian, and beneath this House.
The honourable member for
What's disgusting is that the Liberals let in so many people into the country in order to provide those illegals with better health care than Canadians. And what do the Liberals do? Blame the Conservatives for something completely unrelated.
Mr. Speaker, too many people in Niagara cannot find a family doctor. Right now, taxpayers are being charged up to 5 times the provincial rates to provide health care to rejected asylum claimants. Families have waited long enough, and our failed asylum system is making them wait even longer. Conservatives have proposed common-sense solutions to address this horrible situation. It's time for the government to remove benefits to bogus claimants. Will the government support our motion and ensure that non-citizens and non-permanent residents do not get superior health care to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, you know what happened? Mr. Speaker, do you know what happens as failed asylum seekers? They're removed, Mr. Speaker. Last year, we removed over 22,000 individuals who are inadmissible, Mr. Speaker. We as a government are ensuring
32,000 missing.
The honourable member for
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you didn't hear that, right, from Caputo, was when he said 32,000 missing. Yes, this is still brought over from last year. So 32,000 criminals, people with known criminal backgrounds that are criminally charged and need to leave the country, right? And they don't know where 10,000 of them are. And he had promised to remove 22,000, but never reported at the end of the year whether or not they did. As for the other 10,000, who knows? And we don't know about the million whose visas expired at the end of last year. No plan for those. And there's 4 more million visas expiring this year. So you think what they're saying is actually going to happen? Don't bloody think so, especially when they're just asking people to leave instead of removing them, which was their plan all along, to inundate Canada with them and then just give them citizenship, and then they will become the natural ruling party forever.
But listen, I need to hear the questions and answers so I can tell if any rules are being broken. So the Honourable Minister of Public Safety from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, you know what happens to failed asylum seekers, Mr. Speaker? They're removed. Last year, we removed over 22,000 inadmissible individuals from Canada. This year, through the strength Canada's Immigration System Act, C-12, which is now going through the Senate, Mr. Speaker, we will be removing more individuals and more will be ineligible to seek asylum. We are hiring 1,000 new CBSA officers, the first cohort of which are graduating this Friday, Mr. Speaker. We are strengthening our border and ensuring that those who are inadmissible do not remain in here, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Mr. Speaker, that minister knows very well he has lost 32,000 people who have been ordered deported. As a physician, as the son of a refugee to Canada, this issue is very close to my heart. I wish we were speaking about healthcare today, but instead we must speak about healthcare fraud. We are talking about people who claim refugee status only after they are investigated or arrested for crimes like terrorism or extortion. We need to talk about such people because they are receiving better health benefits than ordinary tax-paying Canadians. When seniors in Kitchener can't find family doctors and can't afford their medicines, how on earth does the Liberal government...
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think that member was around when the opposition party voted time and again against the investments that provinces and territories have been asking us to make in strengthening our universal healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, that's how we build a healthcare system that everybody is proud of, something that we built on the foundations of our forefathers and mothers in this place, where we can ensure that people can access quality, affordable healthcare across this country, Mr. Speaker, not by tearing down different groups of people.
The Honourable Member for Gaspésie, les Îles de la Madeleine, Liste des Gouches. Mr. Speaker, the federal government lost control during the Roxham Road crisis, and it was even worse than we thought. The C.D. Howe Institute has revealed that when Ottawa was overwhelmed by asylum claims, it reduced its monitoring. Between 2019 and 23, 25,000 people were accepted as refugees without being interviewed. So that's 25,000 refugees who were accepted, many in Quebec, without even having their statements checked. And this morning at committee, we learned that that's still what's being done. When will the government take action on this? The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The safety of Canadians and Quebecers is our priority. Officers carefully examine every asylum claim before it's submitted. To the Refugee Board, and non-eligible claims are not sent along. We have already reduced asylum claims by 1/3. and we will continue to take action. The Honourable Member for Gaspésie-La-Madeleine-Listigouche. Mr. Speaker, when the federal government found itself overwhelmed by asylum claims at Roxham Road, its solution was to allow refugees in blindly in order to speed things up. Ottawa drew up a list of countries from which asylum claimants were automatically accepted without being asked any questions. For example, Russia, Afghanistan, Iran, and other countries. So the result was that right in the middle of the Roxham Road crisis, the acceptance rate went from 65 to 80%. Why did the government tolerate this? Why did it let us accept refugees without ever having met with them?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Merci pour la question, Mr. Speaker. Let me be very clear. Canada has one of the most robust immigration refugee protection system in the world. The Immigration Refugee Board is the gold standard by which adjudication are made towards refugee protection. As a country that is a signatory to the Refugee Convention of 1951, it's important that we have full faith in our system, Mr. Speaker. The IRB does adjudicate and ensures that those who are inadmissible, those who are ineligible to seek asylum, do not go forward, and those who are deemed to be clear refugees do get asylum, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
The Liberals are shutting down agricultural research, and now their red tape is literally choking the life out of agri-food businesses. A survey said 90% of agri-food business owners believe that Liberal policies are putting the future of Canadian agriculture at risk. Red tape and regulations have already increased Canadian food inflation to 7.3%, by far more than double the rate in the United States. Experts are clear. Red tape, inflationary spending, the industrial carbon tax are increasing the cost of food production. How expensive do groceries have to get before the Liberals stop strangling Canadian farmers?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the Government of Canada, we're going to continue to invest in our farmers and ranchers right across this country. We'll continue to make sure that they lead the world in science, what we talked about, Mr. Speaker. But I also want to come back, Mr. Speaker, to the industrial carbon tax. We know it's ineligible in the cost of food, Mr. Speaker, in this country. But one thing I want to say to everyone, Mr. Speaker, is it's not the farmers that are making the money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
He's right. It's not farmers who are making the money. This is why 90% of agri-food business owners say Liberal policy is restricting their ability to be productive and grow. Exactly. 70% of Canadian farmers are telling their kids not to take over the family farm. This is devastating for the future of Canadian food production and food security. It is making Canada less productive, less competitive, and less food secure. Yep. Canadians are already paying amongst the highest grocery prices in the G7. Why is this Liberal government so determined to drown farmers in red tape and taxes and make food unaffordable for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I travel around the world, our farmers are the envy of the world and what they do, Mr. Speaker, here at home. They're some of the best farmers in the world, and we'll continue to ensure that they continue that, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, blaming farmers for the cost of food is not the appropriate level of issue. We're talking about many different types of issues that...
What a moron! They never blame the farmers, they blame you! You stupid Liberals, not the farmers! Oh my God, stupid deflection.
That defuse some of the costs around groceries and items, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue to support them as best we can. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Middlesex London.
Mr. Speaker, I keep hearing from farmers and producers that Liberal red tape and taxes is choking the life out of them and is threatening our food sovereignty. Nearly 90% of food businesses believe that the future of Canadian agriculture is at risk. Liberal red tape means punishing regulations and industrial carbon and fuel taxes that are driving up the cost of production across the entire food supply chain. So how high will grocery prices have to skyrocket before the Liberals stop strangling Canadian farmers with taxes and red tape?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, while the Conservatives refuse to acknowledge the success of Canadian agriculture and the work of farmers, the facts speak for themselves. Our agri-food exports reached over $100 billion, Mr. Speaker. The sector supports over 2.3 million Canadians, or 1 in 9 jobs, Mr. Speaker. We'll continue standing with our farmers as they export to countries around the world. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Middlesex London.
been 10 years of bad Liberal policies and hidden taxes that have driven Canadian food inflation to 7.3%, the highest in the G7, far more than double the rate in the U.S. This is a Liberal-led, made-in-Canada problem that is driving up food prices and driving Canadian producers right out of business. With 70% of all food produced domestically, including 80% of our processed foods, when will the Liberals actually take this seriously and start cutting taxes and red tape for our farmers?
The Honourable Minister.
Speaking of farmers, we are listening to our farmers. In fact, in our last trip to China, we got them access to over $7 billion of agriculture access in canola, in seafood, in beef. That means good jobs for farmers in the canola sector, over 200,000 jobs in the beef sector, over 250,000 jobs in our seafood sector, 35,000 jobs, Mr. Speaker. This is what we're doing. We're standing with our farmers and opening new markets around the world.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stoney Creek.
In December, the Stoney Creek Food Bank saw a record 1,694 total visits, the largest since 2022. Also in December, the Fair Share Food Bank in Oakville saw the largest number of people they've ever served, over 913 families. Canadians rely on food banks because food prices have skyrocketed by 7.3%. How many Canadians need to visit a food bank before these Liberals stop strangling Canadian food production with red tape and punishing taxes?
The Honourable Minister for Jobs and Families.
Speaker, every step of the way as this government works to support families in need, these Conservatives vote against them. They obstruct our budget bill in this House, Mr. Speaker. Money that Canadian families are needing for all kinds of things, including the jobs that many of our union workers are relying on. You know what helps with food insecurity, Mr. Speaker? Good paying jobs. But newsflash, these Conservatives vote against every measure that actually creates good paying jobs. So whether it's helping hungry people or helping hardworking Canadians, they're opposed. What's it going to take?
The Honourable Member for Sudbury.
Canadians elected a new government with a mandate to build Canada strong. This means investing in our workers, industries, and supply chains by unlocking new opportunities and investing in our sovereignty.
God, these freebie questions by Liberals to Liberals are just so disgusting. Our new government. Our new government. Our new government.
While supporting our Canadian Armed Forces.
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, last week we launched Canada's first ever defence industrial strategy. It's a plan that provides a signal to industry, to allies, partners, to the Canadian Armed Forces and to Canadians alike that we are moving forward quickly and we're moving forward with purpose. We are building, we are partnering, and we're buying Canadian. We're strengthening our relationship with our partners, we're transforming procurement, we're investing for results. That's what our new strategy is all about.
So I'm wondering, will the ballless Conservatives ask any questions about why the Liberals are going to be hiring mercenaries to join the Canadian Armed Forces? Is that part of their defense strategy, the fact that Canadians won't join because of these clowns? Will the Conservatives ask a question about that today? I wonder. Do they have any balls left?
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues should check out the Liberal Party's election campaign platform at page 63. I quote, "The federal government has spent too much." When the Liberals came to power, the debt was $700 billion. It has grown to $1.4 trillion in just 10 years. In their election campaign platform, they also talk about efficiency and results. Well, now we have this Curam computer system that has gone from $1.6 billion to $6.6 billion. 85,000 seniors are waiting for their money. Is this what the Liberals call efficiency? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I know it's Monday and the colleague wanted to hear some good news, so I have some good news for him, Mr. Speaker. Canada has the second fastest growth of all G7 countries, Mr. Speaker. That's the Liberal plan. That's the Prime Minister's plan, Mr. Speaker. Our plan is to grow the Canadian economy. He should not speak against our economy. He should be proud. We are building jobs. We're building cars. We're building planes. We have critical minerals. We have energy. We are the only G7 country with a free trade agreement with all other G7 countries. Mr. Speaker, we are here to build and grow. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Mr. Speaker, that's the respect that this minister has for seniors. I am talking about 85,000 seniors who are not receiving their pension payments. I bring that up and he talks about Canada's economic development. There's no respect for our seniors. These seniors built the country. The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we transitioned from a very old system from the 70s and we modernized it. There was no cost overrun. What there was a modernization of our IT systems. Now, there were a few cases, and I'm waiting for the member across the way to inform me of any cases he may be aware of. He should inform us, and we will solve any cases that need to be.
So this is how seriously they take their problem of 85,000 seniors not getting their OAS checks. Oh, it's just a few problems. Send me the names. Send me the names. You morons. You spent $1.3 billion plus another $5 billion, which you say you never spent, but it's spent, that you won't provide any evidence over why that money was allocated? Like, if it wasn't spent, then why not just provide the documentation? But you won't. But the fact is that you guys are just lying. You're just plain lying.
A reminder to all, I know that we all get excited sometimes, but we shouldn't smack our desks too loudly because that can harm interpreters. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. After the Phoenix fiasco, now we have Curam, ruining seniors' lives. It was initially expected to cost $1.75 billion. Now the bill has skyrocketed to $6.6 billion. That's 4 times the initial price, Mr. Speaker. While the Liberals are wasting taxpayers' money, seniors are waiting 9 months for their pension payments. My questions are very simple. First question, why do Liberal programs always run massively over budget? Second question, why do seniors have to suffer the consequences of federal Liberal incompetence with yet another failed software program? The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors. We did this under budget. Over 7 million seniors are now receiving their benefits through a modernized system. Curam, the total cost, the $6.6 billion, is for 4 different projects. $6.6 billion was the approved initial amount for the total duration of the project. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Same old government, same old Liberal habits. Mr. Speaker, as usual, consulting firms are lining their pockets. Since the Liberals came to power, they have spent no less than $26 billion on external contracts. History is repeating itself with Curam, a project with an astronomical cost of $6.6 billion, of which about half will go directly to external firms. Meanwhile, 85,000 seniors are suffering. They're dealing with payment delays or repeated administrative errors. Why should seniors pay the price for this Liberal incompetence, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, over 7 million Canadians are benefiting from OAS and are receiving their pensions through this new system with no issues. Now, of course, there have been a few issues here and there in the transition from a very outdated system to a very modern system. Of course, there are a couple of little issues. We are addressing them, and if there are any issues, people can contact Service Canada. They can even contact their Member of Parliament, and we will help them. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le Fjord. Mr. Speaker, 5 billion. It's atrocious. 5 billion is how much the QRM cost overrun will cost taxpayers. The Liberals think that's totally normal and acceptable. Worse still, we're unable to obtain information about the private external consultants to whom most of that sum is being paid. This has become the norm over the past 10 years. The norm is no transparency. This is a federal version of Quebec's SACLIC, but 5 times more expensive. Why should seniors and taxpayers pay the price for this disastrous decision-making? The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
The opposition is saying, in fact, the initial program authority of $1.7 billion was intended to be used to kickstart the first phase. In fact, the program is under budget. And great news, Mr. Speaker, 7 million Canadians have transitioned to this new system. The system was 60 years old. Can you imagine that, Mr. Speaker? Paper applications being filed, lots of mistakes. And Mr. Speaker, this is going to make life easier for all seniors going forward. If the member opposite has some urgent case that they know of, please send them our way. We're able to process those in 24 hours.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Yet another scandal, Mr. Speaker. After the Phoenix scandal, Liberal incompetence has reached new heights, the highest heights in the QRM file. The QRM software is a federal version of Quebec's SACLIC. The bill for this IT project will come to $6.6 billion, and more than half of that amount will go to consultants who get away with delays, failures, and cost overruns without any consequences. Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are struggling, public money is being thrown out the window. Why are cost overruns part of Liberal DNA? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the question was a bit funny or entertaining, but this question has been asked many times and answered many times. The answer is there was no cost overrun. Over 7 million Canadians are benefiting from the new software, and it's a success, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Katascomique, Témiscouata. Well, we thought we had seen it all with Phoenix and ArriveCAN, but now QRM has surpassed even Quebec's infamous SACLIC. The Liberals told us that they would manage taxpayers' money responsibly. What do we get instead? $6.6 billion wasted, and seniors still waiting for their pension payments. And the worst part, more than half that money is going straight into the pockets of consultants. How can the Liberals justify this mess? Why are the Liberals making seniors suffer the consequences of failed federal software? The Honourable Government House Leader. This question has been asked many times and answered many times. Now I'll say it's been asked many, many times. Mr. Speaker, they're shouting about nothing. Of course, it's complicated to transition federal software, but this is a success story. We had an outdated system, and we transitioned to an ultra-modern system. Now benefits are being paid out to over 7.
Only a Liberal would say that something costs $5 billion more than a $1.3 billion initially costed, with a system that didn't actually send checks to everybody it was designed to. Only they would call that a success because they're used to failure. They're used to almost making the mark. That's good enough. As long as they get paid, as long as their friends get paid. Screw you, seniors.
7 million Canadians, and Mr. Speaker, we should celebrate that.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government was forewarned in 2023 that their new system intended to enhance OAS and GIS payments was already going over budget. This project has ballooned to $6.6 billion. The taxpayer is now responsible for the failure of a system that was supposed to guarantee better access for our seniors. At a time when seniors are struggling to make ends meet, how does this government justify billions of wasteful spending on a broken system?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, I'm really happy to answer this question and remind the member opposite that years ago, the Auditor General warned Harper's Conservatives that the old benefits payment system was outdated and at risk. No. That means that under those Conservatives, people would not get their money at all. What did the Conservatives do, Mr. Speaker? Nothing. That's just their way. Get out of the way and do nothing.
another excuse from the Liberal government. Seniors are already struggling with the cost of living, and delayed payments are causing seniors to fall behind on rent, skip groceries, and worry about how they will pay for their medication. This is unacceptable that this project went from $1.7 billion to $6.6 billion. Who's accountable for this massive cost overrun? Who will be fired, and when will this government take responsibility for another overpriced failed system?
Honourable Minister for Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, if you consider transitioning 7 million Canadians to a system without a hitch, that's actually not my definition of failure. You know what is, Mr. Speaker? Not investing in the modernization of systems when they had a chance, and voting against, Mr. Speaker, bringing all our systems up to date. Not only are we modernizing OAS, but we're modernizing EI and CPP for all Canadians. Mr. Speaker, Canadians ought to have systems that they can use digitally. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. We're making sure that Canadians have state-of-the-art benefit payments.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Les Pays d'en Haut. Mr. Speaker, the world is changing. The global order is disrupted, and rapid technological advances are changing the way Canada must respond to threats. Canada's new government is responding by rebuilding, rearming, and reinvesting in the Canadian Armed Forces. Mr. Speaker, we are already seeing results. Applications to join the Canadian Armed Forces have increased by nearly 13%, and Canada is on track to meet its target of 2%. Can the Minister of Canada, United States Trade explain to the House how the first ever defence industrial strategy will strengthen our security and stimulate economic growth across the country? The Minister of Canada, U.S. Trade. Mr. Speaker, Canada's new government is focusing on what we can control, building here at home and working with allies and buying what we need. The new defence industrial strategy represents a $500 billion investment in Canadian industry, security, and prosperity. Mr. Speaker, this is as much an employment strategy as it is a defence strategy. 125,000 new positions will be created, strengthened supply chains, and this is how we are standing up for Canada.
Skyrocketed 7.3%, rising more than twice as fast as other goods. This is not an imported problem. 70% of the food Canadians consume is produced domestically, including 80% of processed foods. Yet nearly 90% of agribusinesses now say the future of Canadian ag is at risk. So why are food prices rising? Punishing regulations and inflationary spending and Liberal taxes continue to force Canadians to pay more at the store. How expensive does food have to get before the Liberals stop strangling farmers and get serious about bringing back affordable food?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
We're getting very serious. It's called ensuring food security for Canadians. I'm happy to share that with the member. He may want to explain that to his constituent. The great thing, Mr. Speaker, with the Canada Groceries and Essential Benefit, we're helping Canadians, 12 million Canadians. But in addition, and I'm sure he's going to call his constituent, we're putting $500 million to help to have a more resilient supply chain, Mr. Speaker. We need to grow more food in Canada. We need to have a better supply chain. We need to focus on food security. That's exactly what we're doing, and I hope that the Conservative will vote in favor of the bill, Mr. Speaker, because this is helping farmers.
The honourable member for Flamborough-Glanbrook, Brampton North.
Mr. Speaker, under this Prime Minister, food prices have jumped 7.3% and are rising twice as fast as other goods, making Canada the food inflation capital of the G7. This is a made-in-Canada problem. 70% of our food production is right here at home. Yet nearly 90% of agribusinesses say Liberal red tape is putting them at risk. Punishing regulations and the industrial carbon tax are driving up costs. Just how much higher must grocery bills climb before the Liberals stop strangling Canadian food production with red tape and punishing taxes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is a bit rich to listen to the Conservatives talk about Canadian farmers and agri-food businesses when they had their chance in April 2025 and they had absolutely nothing in their platform for Canadian farmers or agri-food businesses. Mr. Speaker, we know the price of food is a major issue in this country. That's why we've introduced the Groceries and Essentials rebate. 12.6 million Canadians will benefit up to $1,900 a year, but we're also introducing the National national food security strategy, Mr. Speaker. This is an opportunity to look at the systemic aspects of food, what we can do to help support farmers, agri-food businesses. It won't be cutting the industrial carbon price. That's not a real plan, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, costs keep going up, Liberals keep doing the same things. This year in New Brunswick, families will spend $1,000 more on grocery bills than last year. With 70% of food produced domestically, this is a made-in-Canada problem caused by these Liberals. Food is expensive because Canadian taxes on farming, trucking, and packaging keeps going up. It's all paid by Canadian consumers, and rising taxes on energy means more pain is on the way. Experts are clear: punishing regulations, inflationary spending, and the Liberal industrial carbon tax are the cause. How expensive does food have to get before Liberals do something?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to fighting affordability, that member and that leader are missing in action. Mr. Speaker, we've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've cut the consumer carbon tax. We've cut the GST for first-time homebuyers. And just recently, we announced a groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of New Brunswickers' working families. Time for that member and that leader to stand up, stop the obstruction, fight for Canadian families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Burnaby Central.
Mr. Speaker, Build Canada Home is Canada's affordable housing builder, and it's already delivering real results. It continues to support projects that provide Canadians with safe, stable, and affordable homes, including those coming to British Columbia, through a recently announced partnership. Can the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure update this House on how this new partnership will help deliver much-needed housing for residents in British Columbia?
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the member for his question. We have very exciting news in BC. The Build Canada Homes partnership is set to deliver 1,100 new affordable homes. That's great news. Many of these priority projects are set to break ground this year, including 700 supportive and transitional homes for those who need them the most. I hope that the members opposite will support the Build Canada Homes legislation rather than obstructing and preventing Canadians from getting access to affordable housing. Thank you.
The honourable member for Elgin St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A British Columbia School Board trustee was fined $750,000 for the egregious crime of saying there are two genders. These are the same kangaroo courts that the Liberals' Online Harms Act empowers. It's the same regulation of emotion that Liberal Bill C9 supercharges. The Liberals claim they will uphold freedom of expression, but still have not said whether they will acknowledge and accept the Federal Court of Appeal ruling that they violated the constitutional rights of Canadians by invoking the Emergencies Act. Will they commit now to giving up on their censorship agenda and letting Canadians live their lives and speak their minds?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, a couple points, Mr. Speaker. There is no censorship agenda. We will keep our kids safe, including safe from child pornographers, and the convoy was an illegal occupation of the downtown of our capital that people wanted gone, and he supported with his leader. Shame on them, bringing donuts to people occupying our nation's capital.
The honourable member the honourable member for Courtenay, Alberni. We're moving on to another question.
We keep asking this Liberal government when pharmacare will expand, and we can't get a straight answer from the Minister of Health. British Columbia's pharmacare agreement starts next week because New Democrats push for it and because the BC NDP moved quickly. Families in other provinces are still waiting because the Liberal government isn't negotiating. This means access to life-saving medicine depends on your postal code. When will the Minister of Health finally start negotiating so Canadians can access life-saving medicine no matter where they live?
L'honorable ministre de la Santé.
The Honourable Minister for Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
His question, and as he knows, I'm having conversation with each of the health ministers in provinces and territories about pharmacare. So we will let you know as long as we are ready to move forward. Thank you.
Good answer.
That ends question period. My understanding is that the honourable member for Carleton is. Après, Monsieur le député de Carleton.
The member for Carleton.
The honourable member for Carleton has a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on a point of order. There was some very unparliamentary language that we heard today. It was probably spoken by accident. I'd like you to ask the member for Lakeland to withdraw the comment.
I didn't hear the language in question. I don't know if the honourable member wants to address this one way or the other. The honourable member for Lakeland. I didn't hear the comment, so.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I withdraw my comment by telling the truth that the answer was bovine excrement.
You know, the first time nobody heard it. The second time, unfortunately, we had to hear it. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think you'll find in the House of Commons that you have the responsibility to protect the rights of all parliamentarians. I saw during question period my colleague, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, used hand signals that I would urge you to look into when he was speaking to one of my colleagues. Perhaps he could immediately present his apologies. I myself did not see the gesture, says the speaker, and I doubt that by watching the video again, I will be able to get a better view of this because, of course, the camera is focused on the person, on the questioner, and on the person answering the question. But your point is noted.
It being 3:11, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the amendment to the motion of Ms. Dancho relating to the business of supply. Call in the members.
Okay, was question period. And if you were at the show earlier with all my technical issues, I highly apologize. As you could see what happened there, it seems that a lot of my issues seem to be coming from my horrible internet stream, because whenever the internet connection goes down, so does my free software and starts to cause some issues. All right, well, let's cover what was covered in question period. So they spent a good part of question period dealing with the refugees and illegals getting better health care than most Canadians, as has been in the news. And this was covered for a good portion of today's question period. Also covered, I'm not surprised, for the fourth week now, is the old age security check issue with over 85,000 seniors still not receiving their checks of this stupid Kuram software. And of course, the Liberals insist that it's not in cost overrun, yet they deny the committee access to the records to prove that it's not a cost overrun. So we will just assume it is a cost overrun and that they are lying through their teeth. We also saw greasy, slimy Stephen McKinnon often refer to it as just a few people that have a problem. You have to get online. You have to get on with it. Come on, it's just a few problems. Give us the names. But every week they keep being told you have 86,000 people, 85,000 people that are not getting their checks. So unfuck yourselves. And then, of course, they said, well, we have to roll this out, and the Conservatives didn't do anything, so you should blame them. Yeah, well, guess what? If you rolled it out, you're responsible for the failures that come along with it. You don't get to claim the failures as a success, because any normal person would have listened to those IT people, which they probably told you should have run concurrent ops to make sure that the system is fully functional before you switched over to it. But you didn't do that, did you? You didn't do that. And if you did, well, then you switched over too soon before all the bugs were fixed, because you're probably anti-human, right? Roxham Road, I guess that was a bit of an issue as well, with all the non-vetting that was happening with all those people getting free healthcare. And of course, again, the rule lie. They said, no. Hang on a second. It's getting hang on. Wait for internet to connect. See that? All right. Okay, we're back. Bloody hell. The other big thing that was being talked about, of course, was the agricultural red tape and carbon taxes issue. Because, and of course, the Liberals come back and they lie, well, no, why getting rid of a tax? That's not going to fix people. Yeah. Making life less expensive is not going to fix the problem. These people are morons. Food bank use. Canadians are relying far too much on food banks. And of course, as a result of this, because food is so expensive, $1.4 trillion debt was increased to $6.6 billion for this failed Karam system. And of course, near the end, we had Andrew Lawton once again asked a question about the Emergencies Act, and the Liberals doubled down on their evil. They still called it an illegal occupation, even though the courts have come out and said that the Liberals were actually the illegal ones. So the fact that they are continuing to pound this lie in Parliament tells me that they're probably going to go to court and appeal the fact that they were turned into criminals once again by a second court, hoping that the 6 out of the 9 justices that are sitting in the Supreme Court of Canada that were appointed by Liberals will let them get away with murder once again. And I believe the point of order correction? Are we back? Yes. So the point of order correction that was done regarding bovine excrement, that's a keeper. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow morning at second breakfast, hopefully without some technical issues at 9 o'clock, and then we'll be back for the nap in the afternoon. We'll see you there. And let's get out of here with the intro.
Rule from these Liberals. Conservatives know flight attendants work for free. It's why we introduced a bill to fix it. Why don't they just steal that idea like they steal all of our ideas and help flight attendants instead of doing another study?
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Speech yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out, because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
The Minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears.
It's really hard to follow, isn't it, Mr. Speaker?
All of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more, and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that is built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
And we decide what comes next.
No, that this government has their back, and we will continue to do it. There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Deficits are driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery
store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Hey, of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest.
Mr. Speaker, the grand reveal has been made.
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
Sets us up well for the new world order.
Paladin. For almost 2 years, flight attendants told this government and parliamentarians that they were working for free. And we believed them. Conservatives introduced a bill to fix that problem. Liberals didn't believe them and they ordered a study. After 6 months, this study, wait for it, has determined it needs to do another study. You actually can't make this stuff up.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.